Hello, Aquarius. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And a big thank you again to all of you who followed me over here. I love you guys. All right, Aquarius. So before I get started, just to remind everybody, I read from Sun, Moon, and Rising, but feel free to apply this message to wherever Aquarius is in your chart. And please make sure that you're only taking in the messages that resonate. All right, Aquarius. So this time you pulled Faith, New Beginnings, and Alone in the World. This is like not seeing how your new beginning has already started. And some of you may have lost faith in the things that you have been planning for yourself, the things that you are wanting to create, this new beginning. You may not feel like, or you may not have felt like for a while, like anything has been changing. But I look at faith and feel like something is going to happen that's going to restore your faith in the intentions that you originally set. And Alone in the World, this is, the waiting period, but it's talking about how that waiting period is going to be coming to an end. It also talks about, though, things returning, waiting for something to return. And for some of you, you may have been waiting for your own faith to be restored in, again, the things that you have already set into motion. But it's interesting because a new beginning absolutely could be the catalyst here for faith, but because of Alone in the World and some of the things that New Beginnings talks about, it feels like you don't see that it's already started. So I feel like, again, something's going to happen that's going to restore your belief in yourself and the things that you intended to do and to be. So faith, again, talks about it being restored and it returning to you, and you feeling a true connection and comfort in your choices and plans. And it talks about it being supported by the universe. Now, working with this card, it says if you have lost faith in a person, project, or humanity itself, it's time to examine the source of the faith and know that it can be revived. And this time you can choose where you place your faith, right? And, it's interesting to me, especially considering that you... right? You just had a really major transition happen with Pluto finally entering into Aquarius to stay this time. We had a preview of it, but now, the full force of that is really starting to be activated. And it's almost like we needed that minute to go back to that last decan, or that last part of Capricorn, to get full awareness of what it is that we're changing within that area in our chart, right? But this is a huge kind of like transformation. Pluto has the tendency to come in and like completely destroy everything as it's moving through, but behind its wake there is, the birth of new things, the transition of self and soul. And I love the destructive nature of Pluto because it's necessary, right? We can't have new creation without at least some level of destruction. So now let me get back to this. New beginnings. It says this card indicates you may be about to enter a new phase of life. Well, yeah, right? It says, unlike the card of transition, the mood of new beginnings is joyful expectancy. And I'm wondering if that's something that you haven't felt for a minute. It says it's heralding an opportunity to wipe the slate clean and start fresh. The supportive, nurturing energy of this card helps transcend old habits and ways of relating which have been holding you back. The new beginning has already started. It may have happened in really small, subtle ways, but this is where the full effect of it, I think, is going to be felt for a lot of you. Now, Alone in the World. This is where you may have been through a period of solitude, waiting for things to finally make that kind of transition. So I have to wonder if for some of you, with the transformative energy of Pluto moving into Aquarius, if you didn't feel it off the bat, or even the first time that it dipped its toes in. But now this is where we start to feel the full force of it. So it says, in solitude I stand, in solitude I may shine. And then the sentence says, I made my home a cluster and my heart a chalice for the faintest breeze, and yet I stand alone. It says, waiting is a transition. It has its beginning and it has an end. Waiting is the night, morning brings the sun of new day. So this waiting for this new beginning, or waiting for, this feeling of faith to be returned to you, I think is going to come up in a really big way, where you start to see how the new beginning already started. It reminds me a lot of times of how, especially within astrology, where we look at these major transitions, and there are times where we kind of look at it within our own charts and go, well, what the hell, right? Like, this is supposed to be powerful, but I'm not feeling anything. And then all of a sudden it just kind of hits. But like I said, for you, it has to do with things that you have already set into motion. Things that, you have promised yourself you were going to do, you were going to be. But I like the feeling that something happens that restores your faith in the plans that you originally had put into motion in creating the new beginning for you. And it's funny because I'm sitting here thinking about the whole transition into Aquarius. And I remember very distinctly feeling the shift back into Capricorn, and it almost felt like this regression that was taking place. And I wonder if for some of you, you felt that same way. You're overall the Page of Pentacles. I like this because this is where, if we're talking about that last part of Capricorn needing to be played out before, its presence is fully seen with the transition into Aquarius, this is like taking the information that you have learned, but using it to create new opportunities. But this absolutely could be communication that's going to be coming through, a new job offer. But the student seems to be sticking out for me with this one. So the Page of Pentacles, this is where, the pentacles on the mind. How do I make more of this? And, there's the learning process that goes along with this, but there's dependability with this though too. So the information that's coming through, it's dependable, it's realistic. But it is the beginning, right? The beginning for you to take advantage of an opportunity. And again, being a page, this may be communication that's coming through that may be shifting everything that's around you. It seems so minor, but yet it's so big, right? Okay, so the King of Pentacles, if we're talking about you as the King of Pentacles in the past, this is you going back to the part of you that knows how to maintain success. So, with the King of Pentacles too, knowing what is worth taking a risk on. Definitely we could be talking about, because of Alone in the World, somebody from the past coming back through that may be, opening up the doors to communication to create more success in your life. Absolutely. But if this is a version of you, this is what you're pulling on. So it makes me wonder if this isn't something that, you already are well versed in, but there is, new information that's being used in a way that is benefiting you moving forward. But, with this going on, we're talking about, first of all, earth energy, right? Down to earth, realistic, practical. But we're also talking about your material world. So that new beginning may have to do with, financial success for you. But I get this feeling that even if we're talking about a person that's coming through from the past that's giving you this information, I'm still looking at a version of you being projected outward with that King of Pentacles where, you're more grounded in what you already knew as far as, you know, what you are wanting to make successful. So I'm not seeing this as something negative. But yeah, I say that, but there's a part of me that's almost waiting for me to be proven wrong, right? So in the present, the Seven of Wands, right? Not backing down. Standing up for yourself and your beliefs. But this is also facing opposition. And I have to wonder, looking back at the oracle cards, you know, where this opposition has been coming from. But now, as far as like maintaining your success, this may be where you have to look at, you know, what things are opposing your beliefs and your values and what you've been fighting against. And that may be where the new information is coming through that you're using in a much more practical way, right? But we'll see what's going on here. I'm telling you, there are times where, you know, I almost feel absolutely sure about something, and then there's the flip of the coin where it's like, yeah, but there's another side to this, right? So the Ten of Swords in future conditions, here's the thing. We're already talking about something that's over with. The problem with the Ten of Swords oftentimes is the transition back to the new beginning, because you're talking about the ending of a cycle, but a very painful ending. And I think that the problem is that these things that you have been opposing may have been, you know, reinforcing the pain that's been experienced from the past, that may have been preventing you from continuing the success that was already started. So this is really about accepting that, you know, those things are over, take the swords out of your back and stand the hell up. These things should not be beating you down to the point where, you know, you can't see the new beginning that's coming, that's already been started. So I don't necessarily, you know, and the thing is when you're looking at the Ten of Swords in terms of future conditions, absolutely this could talk about an ending that you did not want to experience. The problem here, though, is that it has to come to an end if it's continuously creating pain in your life. But again, there's that problem of lingering in all the things that went wrong that created the ending in the first place. But I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at you, you know, opposing all of these things that are coming at you. But the thing is are you opposing things that are already, you know, like those things are done and over with? But are you continuously replaying them here, but then being trapped in this feeling of things being over? You know, but we'll see. We'll see what's going on here. But, you know, a lot of times, though, with the Ten of Swords, right, it was already over. Your best path to follow, Sagittarius, Temperance. Okay. So this is where moderation is important when it comes to the emotional highs and lows that we go through. So, you know, it very much reminds me of Buddha speaking of the Eightfold Path, right? Right thinking, right action, right speech. But the reality is with temperance that the minute that you dip your toe into one emotional extreme, you better believe you're going to experience the other. So this is about not being influenced by it in such a way that it creates disharmony. So this is needing to be patient, needing to be moderate when delving into certain emotional responses to what you are experiencing. And this may be really important in terms of, you know, opportunities that are presenting themselves to you because this is you using that information in a way that creates further success, right? Now, for some of you, there may be communication coming through from somebody from the past, and there is this feeling of being practical and realistic, but the problem is there's something about that opposes your beliefs, which puts you in the Seven of Wands. And there may be a realization here that this situation is over with for a reason. It's almost like remembering why it came to an end. But if this is what's reappearing, then again, Temperance is like, just, don't let it affect you in such a way where you get pulled in a certain direction where inevitably it's going to pull you to the opposite side of that. So I almost want to say here that even though something has come to an end in a very painful way, you don't have to focus on the pain that was caused in that. Because to me, technically, you knew it was over with before, right? And that's only going to be for some of you, but maintaining inner harmony and balance is, the important thing here. And it may be creating, this new understanding that you can apply then into your life in a very different way. All right, so the Nine of Swords in your environment, and it's unfortunate that this is the one that I'm seeing pop up quite a bit. So this is where your mind is caught up on the fears surrounding the thoughts that have to do with pulling you back into, the pain that was created in this ending. But these are things that your mind isn't allowing you to forget, though. And it's like pushing you into this place where you feel like you need to constantly defend your views, your beliefs, right? But the thing is it's over. It's over. You don't have to continue to keep doing this. I almost want to say that there isn't any reason for you to react in this way, but it almost seems visceral. Like, of course I would be responding this way because I still remember the pain that was created. And the thing is, as far as the King of Pentacles in this scenario, looking at that as the energy from the past that's being pulled through, you know how to successfully navigate situations like this. And it may have to do with someone in particular, right? But don't be influenced. Like, don't be quick to move to the place where you're immediately bringing up every detail and every point of every horrible thing that you had experienced. Because it's just your mind constantly going through that, but it feels like it's almost for, I don't want to say not for any reason, but more so it's not for your benefit. But then that to me says that there needs to be some resolution. And that makes me think that, these are things that you have to communicate, you have to talk about, but you're doing it in a very defensive way. But if it ultimately leads to the Ten of Swords, then, it almost feels like wasted effort, which is why I'm looking at Temperance as your best path, right? Wow, man, this is in depth. And there you are, your hopes and your fears, the Star. Seeing the bigger picture on all of this. The Star is where, you start to see a little bit more clearly through, the dust settling out of the tower. This is where your bigger hopes and dreams and goals start to come into view. And then there is the emotional balance that happens that makes you feel like absolutely you can reach those goals. But this is hope and faith, right? It being restored to you. But I really think that this is about seeing the bigger picture of this situation. Especially if you're in a place right now where you're constantly having to voice and clarify how you think, how you feel, what you believe, what you stand up for. It really isn't necessary. Like, I almost feel like if you're in a place where you have to do that, then you're not connecting to the right people or the right groups, because you wouldn't have to defend yourself then, right? And I have to wonder, for those of you who are dealing with a person in particular, absolutely, with the King of Pentacles, right? There's so many different ways of looking at this. But this could be somebody who, is very materialistic, and they may be negating the spiritual. And that may be where this defense is kind of coming through. Because I'm looking at this and I'm going, no. There's something about this that, it brings up a bunch of negative thoughts that your mind isn't giving you a break from, because there needs to be some kind of resolution. But is it pointless if it's going to come to an end anyway? But, looking back at the star in Temperance, this is balance within yourself. But having hope restored to the bigger picture here, and not allowing a situation to return to influence you in this way. Coming out the Four Swords, so reflecting on it and taking a break, doing some recovery. And it's interesting, because it's almost like reflecting on the fact that whatever this was with the Ten of Swords, it didn't kill you. It's not the end of you, right? The Four of Swords, when you look at, the Pamela Coleman Smith image, the story behind that is that, before going off to battle, these knights would have, their effigy made in preparation that they were not going to make it out alive. But it symbolizes coming back and being thankful and reflecting on how, whatever you went through, you survived. But recovery, and no longer feeling like you need to communicate these values in a way where you have to be defensive about it. Again, that brings me back to you realizing that you don't have to be around people that are constantly going up against you. Because there's nothing that you can say or do that will change another person's point of view. You can plant the seed, right? But you can't make somebody do self-reflection. Ultimately, they have to choose to do that, right? But this is more of the realization that you don't have to do this anymore. Sorry, Aquarius. But information comes out of this that creates this opportunity where I feel like you get to begin again. And kind of going back to the oracle cards, right? Like faith and hope being restored. The Ace of Swords, okay. And again, communication, right? The Four of Pentacles, yeah, it's something that you can't let go of. And then that, to me, makes me feel like you may be finally accepting that, this situation or, this connection with this person, whatever it may be, needs to come to its end. It's almost like there's this realization that there are certain things that if you're being honest with yourself, that you can't let go of. So rather than, constantly having to defend yourself and your point of view, it's like, maybe I should just let this go. Wow, man. And then the Nine of Wands, but there's still this kind of like defensive nature and this unwillingness to let your guard down. And I kind of look back at the Star and think, you know, you may be hoping for a different outcome when it comes to a person in particular, but like I don't think that you're gonna allow to be fooled by anything. Like there's a reason why you're holding your guard up, and you know it. And ultimately it leads to understanding that this has to come to an end, but there needs to be some kind of like working through of the pain that was created by this situation, this person. The Ace of Swords, this is perfect for Aquarius. It's the aha moment, absolute clarity and speaking the truth. But it is that new beginning. And for a lot of you, you know, the clarity and the honesty here, I think with the Four of Swords has to do with the self-reflection that's going on here. And it, like I said, it's going to have to do with the things that are being held on to. But the Nine of Wands, right? It's like, you know, I made it through this, but it's like I didn't go through this just to make it through it. There was something that came along with this. And I think that that kind of clarity and understanding is what's going to create a different beginning for you. And all of this may be happening just so that this Page of Pentacles can make its appearance. Because through this, there's a lot of information that is being gained from what you have experienced here. I mean, it so clearly looks like you constantly having to defend yourself to someone in particular that, you know, just doesn't change, which is why they would be in the past, right? They constantly are replaying their own past over and over again. And this is where you're not going to get sucked into it, but it's over, right? Like it needs to be over. It sucks, but I feel like it's more of an acceptance that you don't have to keep, you know, doing this. Because again, it's like no matter what you say, it's not going to give you the resolution that you're looking for. Maybe having it come to an end, even though it is painful, will do just that for you. Especially coming out with the Four of Swords. And I hope that that made sense. Wow, man, this was intricate. Trees. What do the trees have to say? Patience. Temperance. Transition. And then new path emerging, yeah. Yep. So having patience while going through this transition and the new path emerging. But I feel like this has already started. It already started. But some of you for sure are going to get like a really heavy dose on it. Okay, so you got 3. Nothing is yet set in stone, and I've seen this for another one. Your dreams need a practical plan, which may be all the earth energy that you're looking at. And have faith in your dreams, the Star. There you go. I really like this. It's so detailed. But, you know, again, right, like temperance, no matter what is going on, always make sure that you're not allowing anything outside of you to influence your emotional states. I almost want to say don't go through the emotional roller coaster anymore. And, right, that the King of Pentacles, there's a couple of different ways to look at this. But the king, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about male or female, it's about what's being projected outward. You know, and it's the action that's being taken. And if we're talking about you being this King of Pentacles in the past, you can still create your own success out of a situation. Now, if you're dealing with a person, because of what I'm seeing here, again, that it feels like there's a disconnect between the material and the spiritual, and this would be somebody that is more so in the material. But I hope that this made sense, and I hope that this helped. Please let me know, because I love hearing from you guys. I love you, and I hope to see you again soon.